Hello there everyone and welcome back. The second phase of the pre-order beta is now underway and I am itching to show off what these new factions have in store, and if it's at all possible before the actual live release I would like to try out all the 12 factions that we have available to us, but with the way the leveling progression works I've been trying to unlock these skills so I can showcase what the new factions are bringing to them. It may not be possible to do that at least before release. But what I'm hoping to do is try them all out there, get them level up, unlock everything, and so you can see what other tools are available to them. It's one thing to see what the stats and actual traits are to the ships. It's another thing entirely when you look at the unique abilities that some of them have. In the case of the Asuryani, which is what I'm going to be playing multiplayer of this time around, they are pretty straightforward to what the Corsair is going to have. Hell, almost all of them are completely exactly like what they would be in Armada 1, so you're going to recognize all of these. So there's very little need to actually unlock them all, except for maybe this level 9th one, which I'm pretty certain is the Maelstrom. I'm almost positive it is, because it was there in like an earlier iteration, I'm pretty certain. But with these upgrades and skills and all that, they're what you already know and sort of love. Although there have been tweaks to them for the purposes of Armada 2, like for example, the Recon Probe, it basically merges the two different probe abilities in one, and allows you to shoot the beacon out, which will then stop at a certain point and activate for a longer range detection radius. I just don't know if it's a typo with the Eldar, well the Eldar factions in general, but I'm pretty certain it's not actually, it doesn't actually stop when you reach the destination you're aiming at with the Eldar, all of them in general. But it does work with the other factions, so I'm wondering if that's a bug or just some weird, they forgot to scratch that out there exactly for that, what is it, that, the way it works with the Eldar factions, so I don't know what to tell you there. It's a bit weird. There are still some little fine-tuning that needs to be done with this release, but just to quickly go over the other ones, we have Disruption Bomb that cancels out the shields with the added caveat that it also disrupts the Hollow Field, Shadow Fields for the Drukhari, and it halts the regeneration of the Necrons for about 20 seconds. So there is possibility using these on Eldar as well as the Necrons as well if you're playing a long drawn out type of matchup. I imagine with burst damage being like the main focus and emphasis, I don't know if that's going to be very practical, but it's been given a little bit more utility. Stasis Bomb, you know it, you'll love it. It's the same old as it always been. An Augur Disruption Bomb, I don't know what the hell to make of this. It was like a bomb you drop down for Armada 2, and it used to just be an AoE effect that jams everything. In this case, with how it's phrased, it just jams everything, and keep in mind, when it says detection range, this is not the identification range that is the second layer of detection you have for revealing stealth ships. It only gets rid of like your normal detection. So this won't be very practical if you are utilizing Silent Run in any of your fleets there. Micro Warp Jump, you're going to love what they did to this, or maybe you're going to hate it. Micro Warp Jump now works on any scanning range of any of your ally ships. It's not just like your flagship itself that can jump a certain scanner range distance. So you have potential to just jump across the map if you are feeling bold, or you need to get to another place quickly. There's a lot of utility this thing can perform for your flagship specifically, since we are kind of restricted at now. Hollow Field is the same as you know it there, although yeah, it's only for the flagship, so probably not very practical, and it still gets cancelled by the Disruption Bomb as phrased there. But what is different, interesting, although considering armor has been buffed up for everything up to, what is it, 83%? I forget what the new heavy armor would be for factions, but the Wraithbone reinforcement, it also has like an AoE effect, as opposed to the flagship, it buffs everything's front armor, which for the Asuryani, that might actually be useful, considering they're a lot more durable and a lot more resilient. They may have reason for this, maybe not for the case that it only gives 75 armor now, as opposed to the new 86, 83, whatever it's at there. And the level 9th one, which I've yet to unlock for the purposes of this video, I'm pretty certain it's a good old Maelstrom. Otherwise, we have a bunch of upgrades here. Most of these are for star cans and for flagship range in general, like accelerate batteries, increase the range, and Spearstone, you pretty much, what's it? The lock-on effect now for Eldar allows you to just get 270 degree arc for all your, well, not really all your weapons. I think it's just the star cannons basically, and all the equivalents to that for the 3 sub-factions of the Eldar. In this case, With this, you get additional range when you go to the runic targeting mode, which is the lock-on. Otherwise, let's see. We have, what is it? Dire Avenger Honor Guards, increased chance for your boarding assaults to do critical hit damage, and the Asuryani do not have any boarding assault ships, so this is going to be strictly to boarding and lightning strikes there. You're not going to have much value otherwise, which is probably going to be taken here, since right straight up we'll see it as we talk about more of the base stats there. The Asuryani, at least currently, when you do any kind of boarding action, have a 30% chance to gain like a critical hit or at least a fire assault on a ship. Spirit lenses, let's see, this used to be, what is it, the overcharge that does additional damage to shields. It's a bit hit or miss on how I feel about this, because it's only a 10% flat increase, but it increases all damage, which, considering the Corsair's emphasis on pulsars almost exclusively for at least the straight up damage with its weaponry, and bombers for just harassment as keeping their distance, this is not very practical for Eldar, at least currently, I would argue. But for something like Imperial Navy, or anything that has very little lances, this might actually be pretty useful in some situations. Very minor, mind you, but a lot more practical in that sense. And we have all the other abilities, as you kind of know. Reload increases rate of fire, that was there in Armada 1. The Void Predator is back with the increased accuracy penalty if you're an asteroid field or gas cloud, is of course the polarized field for pretty much all the factions, even to just ignore asteroid fields. Hell, it even works against minefields and spore fields, which is something that Tyranids can do. But I don't think there's any actual minefields, if I were to be honest, for multiplayer or just skirmish in general. I think this may be something for like campaign if you're worried about minefields in any sense, I believe. And then otherwise, increased loyalty if they're within sensor range of your flagship, which just means less morale damage. It's basically what it comes down to. The Asuryani already have high traits to their loyalty, at least slightly higher. And I wish I could tell you what these other two are, but I think they're pretty generic. I think one of them, or at least one of them, used to be like every time your flagship uses the rally ability, which cancels out insubordinations, you can regenerate some of your crew. One of those may be locked behind here. But I don't think it's significant enough because I've basically been using the same upgrades ever since I started leveling up this fleet. So, unless it's something groundbreaking, kind of like potentially the Maelstrom, I'm going to be sticking with this for the multiplayer. For honestly, I want to really showcase what is possible with these factions there, at least show the potential of them. As I try to get to the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Necrons, the Tyranids, I am going to make that endeavor to unlock everything. The reason I'm not doing it for the Asuryani is they are pretty much carbon copy of the Corsairs in terms of ability. They're almost the exact same. Hell, sure, I may not have unlocked everything, but you can see already there's no variance at all between these two factions. Sadly, I'm going to have to reset all these abilities that I just picked out. Nonetheless, let's see what I'm going to be fielding quickly for this test run, since the Asuryani are all about extra armor, a lot more in your face, a lot more aggressive, and not really having any of the negative traits that the Corsairs have. So what's best to emphasize on that? A lot of torpedoes. And if you ever watched my Armada 1 videos, especially more when I had an Admiral level 8 fleet, I practice a lot using torpedoes, so I'm going to show quickly. I'm a little bit worried it might crash on me, since that has been known to happen for me occasionally. But this is what I'm fielding. 3 cruisers, which are the Dragon ships, and then 3 Wraith ships, which all are going to be equipped with pulsars and torpedoes. Simply put, I am really interested in the potential of the Phoenix ship. It is kind of odd, since it is pretty close to a carbon copy of what the Eclipse was for Armada 1. Hell, even Eclipse is almost exactly what it was for Armada 1. It's just, for some reason, considered a cruiser now as opposed to a battle cruiser. It lost its bonus health as a result of that, but it still has the exact same weaponry. So when you compare it with the Phoenix, which I really do love the design of it, you even have a ship viewer now. Just give it a moment, and you get to admire all these ships there. It has its own separate page there. I kind of would like something just immediately on, visible to see, but I like this spreadsheet a little bit better. It's a lot faster to like assemble your fleet, at least for multiplayer. But we now have that option, at least to kind of visualize and at least see all these ships here. It's just on its own separate tab, which I'm a little bit uncertain how I feel about that, but it's still a nice treat to admire them, since that's kind of what everyone liked about seeing the detail of all these ships up close. But otherwise, I'm hoping to get at least two matches in for you to showcase the potential the Corsairs have, especially when you consider that these cruisers, they don't fire like 6 torpedoes like you would traditionally think of cruisers, they fire 8. And while it seems like their arc has been nerfed a tiny bit, they do have a tiny bit of spread now, as opposed to what I mentioned beforehand about the Asuryani, but they're still really narrow and they're going to do a lot of damage, especially in regards to like 8 torpedoes, for crying out loud. Sadly, the Phoenix doesn't have any torpedoes, otherwise I'd be feeling that thing immediately. Hell, I tried to field there, but the points that allowed was a little bit awkward for me, so they may have readjusted some point scaling there since the last pre-order beta, if I were to believe. But enough talking, that's a quick demonstration of what to expect, and I seriously doubt I'm going to unlock skills, since how the leveling works is almost on par, exactly like it was with Armada 1. Instead, we can see a little more visually here. You get 100 experience for a win, and 50 experience for a loss, which basically means you have the same kind of pacing as it was in Armada 1. Kind of as I already hinted at enough times, but enough of this, let's show you what the Asuryani are capable of. Alright, we have our first opponent. This one looks like it's going to be a really good show for me. As we already know with the Hollow Field, they're really damn good against lances, and Chaos are kind of well known for the lance potential. However, due to the lack of an actual carrier ship to launch fighters to defend myself, let alone harass my opponent, I may be a little bit vulnerable to that. But I'm feeling pretty confident regardless, since even with the carrier ships like the Stigs or anything of that nature, it's still primary focus is kind of lances to do the long range harassment at least. So I'm expecting this to be pretty promising, it just depends what my opponent's fielding. During my leveling process, the theme has been pretty straightforward, just a lot of the biggest ships that they can field that's within the appropriate price range. In that case, it's been a lot of battleships, a lot of grand cruisers, and things of that nature. It feels like, anyway. But otherwise, let me just remember what my hotkeys are. We're going to reload for the main cruisers, because that helps with the rate mode shift. And Silent Run for our cruisers here, light cruisers. They're going to be my harassers, and ideally, maybe harass and force them out of position, or if not, just grab points behind them there if an engagement is not appealing at the time. Since the one main weakness of Eldar is kind of like tight formation, because it makes it really tricky to hit the target you want, especially with big gigantic fleets. With how expensive the Asuryani, especially with their higher armor and no negative traits really, they are pretty damn expensive as made apparent. I only have 6 ships where an Imperial Navy fleet I fought was fielding like 4, maybe 5 Grand Cruisers and an Emperor, for crying out loud. Just to give you an idea of the difference on the fleets potentially. Otherwise, let's get this going. I'm going to grab the points there. Since I'm such emphasis on high mobility, and that's what it looks like here, 4 potential battleships. There may be some salt running frigates, or light cruisers can also salt run, as may appear with my own kind of firestorms or wraith ships, so need to be ready for anything. Anything's possible, so I think that's what these ships are going to be for. And also I got to keep an ear up for like a beacon of some sort. And I never did. I already hinted at what abilities I'm going. I ignore asteroid fields, and I have additional critical hit on my, lightning strikes and boarding assaults. Whereas my main skills, I have the Disruption Bomb and the Stasis Bomb for, like, let's see, being able to open up and allow full damage of potentially my pulsars, especially if against a battleship. I want to at least be able to do damage to that thing now that it no longer has its a high energy turn. It's kind of tricky to multitask there, especially since it's been a while for me, so I hope you can forgive me in that regard. As we try and figure this out, my focus is going to be more demonstrating the race in general, as opposed to trying to win. But I want to do it proper, do it justice at least, especially since Eldar and our general are going to require a lot of control and mobility, constantly moving, especially in the case of the Hollow Field. But this looks like an easy cap there. I'm not seeing any beacon just yet, so I don't have to worry about being revealed. And this is Salt Running, so I'm not going to see until I get in close. And I gotta be very careful not to panic, because there has been some weird bug issues if I spam the Wraith Bone shift. I don't know if it's actually spamming, but something of that nature. And we got ourselves a light cruiser there that we can get for free. I'm okay with this. And the lightning strike I am perfectly fine with. Although maybe I rushed too prematurely there, but let's keep the shields charging. Ideally, deal for our little friend here. And again, with the hull filled up, I should be alright for soaking a lot of this damage. It is like an 80% shield. And we'll... Oh yeah, I gotta remember the engagement distance too is a bit of a pain in the ass. Whoop, that was not what I wanted. Since it naturally goes for the longest range possible, which is not what you want for dang... Nope, that wasn't... I accidentally fired torpedoes too. Well, this is a shame. That's a lot of torpedoes, needless to say. Otherwise, we gotta keep an eye. We could kill this thing now, just about. And now these things should be able to fire as well, because the reload does help with the pulsars to an extent. It changes the reload, or at least it allows them to reload faster, about 25%. So that should be dead due to just sheer burning death. So let's clean up this mess I made for myself some. Come on, fire your pulsars. Oh yeah, engagement range is still kind of an awkward angle. It may say 3,000 units, but technically it's actually 4,500. It's another typo, as made apparent. So a bit of a rough start, but I didn't lose anything, and these a battleship and what are these Acherons? Hades and Carnage. So they're not heavy type of lances just yet, but if I can grab points, this will be pretty good. But I think I want to try go for a kill and... Well, actually, while I'm waiting for them to cap the point, I think I actually want to try and steal this point from behind them. Since engaging haphazardly is probably not a good idea. Also, I can use this gas cloud to kind of conceal myself at the same time. But again, 80% resistance, I'm hardly taking any damage. And unlike the armor, I think it's 80% chance of taking no damage at all, so there is a little bit of a different property there, or behavior to keep in mind. And I do have the lead as well, which I'm about to get 2 more points. And ooh, he separated half his fleet. This is a perfect. This is kind of the opportunity I'm waiting for, as well as kind of jumping them. This is kind of what you want as Eldar. I told you want to stay in tight formations. This is going to be a bit foolish. Although I'm not afraid to kind of avoid. Really? You're not gonna let me boost up there? Oh well, that's only a 20-second disruption bomb on the hull field. That could be worse, especially since he shouldn't be able to see me. I think we got fighters coming there. Oh, there's my dang Wraith Bone shift kind of bugged out as well, so that's gonna be a bit of a pain. There's some torpedo hits with a little bit of latency. But that's a good promising start. Let's capitalize on this damage that we just did for ourselves. And this time, let's do it properly. Again, there's no high energy turns available to these things, so this is gonna hurt. Even with 4 torpedoes each, that looks like one dead battleship. Just gotta get my hotkeys all set, and I'm doing a bad job timing the dang rate of fire too, because we do have a clock to kind of help in that regard. Since over on the top left, well, I can't remember if Armada 1 had one as well, to be honest. Apparently. I thought I dodged that, but all 3 of my ships got hit by a disruption bomb, oddly enough. Either way. Yeah, as you can see, the race is kind of big, so maybe that's kind of why. It looks a lot smaller than it actually is, but maybe I've been lied to. Otherwise, this is still 2 potentially good cruiser kills, although that may have been mistimed a little bit since my torpedoes aren't going to hit the best. But these torpedoes are going to strike a little bit nice and true, or really damn close. And even the point defense aren't going to be enough damage to stop that. Enjoy! Enjoy, enjoy. If I had to criticize that attack run, I gave my opponent a lot more time to actually shoot those down if he had fighters or even the sheer amount of point defense. But otherwise, that was really damn effective. It's part of the reason why you don't want to spread out. Those torpedoes, or even the bombers in general, like the strongest point, of the dang Eldar Asuryani in general. And I'm just gonna lock on for the hope of getting some critical hits to cripple this thing more. I'm not actually trying to kill the crew. It's been a failing of mine trying to withhold my boarding to make sure I did the troop damage when honestly, in all honesty, I should be trying to cripple components to make it easier to kill. But I think this is a victory nonetheless. I just gotta do the damage needed to finish this off. Which shouldn't be long now. Engine's gone. I should also be prioritizing for either the generator or engine, mind you. But there's a lot to take in, a lot to showcase. I'm actually been enjoying the Asuryani so far, but it's like I said, I've been playing with torpedoes and close range brawling a lot already in Armada 1, so I think this was like the easiest type of playstyle for me to get into, and I gotta be mindful. Oh, you already use torpedoes? Oh, they all use torpedoes, okay. So I got a little bit caught off guard there. It still strikes true. Only thing I gotta be careful of is it likes to clump my ships up together too, if I click too much. Since I'm moving the mouse at the same time, it's really twitchy with that, it seems like. And even with potentially a bugged out Wraithbone shift, since as you can see, it shows all the damage stats I have on my ship down here, none of which is an engine critical hit just yet, until just now. Which even then, I don't even think that actually repaired my Wraithbone ship. So, that is a bug that I need to figure out, and it's really damn important for Eldar to not have that happen, safe to say. Or if my opponent decides to get really aggressive, that would be fatal. Or if it was like Orcs or Tyrants, which I would kind of need that to avoid a potential collision. Now, I don't know if that's where the other ones are, but I can grab points and just leave it at that. Oh, there he is. I knew he was around somewhere, I just wasn't expecting to find him immediately. Yeah, I could feel for you, buddy, but spreading out was probably your big mistake there that got you killed. In all honesty, you want to be clumped up, since, again, my past experience with Eldar in general, or the Corsairs rather, in Armada 1, has been their bombers and the burst damage from that, and not so much the pulsars, although they are huge damage. But yeah, they are like 3 cruisers and 3 light cruisers, but that's still pretty brutal there, because you're not really used to the fact that a cruiser has like 8 torpedoes on it, but the price point's a little bit expensive in comparison to what I'm used to with the Imperial Navy, and how what we saw there is like, I guess it wasn't really a battleship, or maybe it was a battleship and a grand cruiser. So maybe that's not entirely true. I have to take a look at the point values of them. But that's the first match. Let's see if we can get something a little bit different there. Because like I said, Chaos, Eldar just are naturally really resistant to them. Since they have the sheer mobility to kind of avoid bombers if you don't squander your Wraithbone shift and potentially your Falls maneuver to rapidly turn away. And never mind the Holofield's ability to kind of negate lances really damn well. So that's just a tough matchup in general for Chaos, I won't argue. Alright, we're facing off against Space Marines this time, and this is going to be interesting. For Space Marines in Armada 1 were notoriety kind of really weak against Eldar just because their low hit point pool and their armor really not helping them at all with regards to the bombers being able to ignore armor as well as the pulsars. So this will be a rough one for my opponent. I was kind of hoping for something potentially that would really need to put some effort into. Although, in all honesty, with the mobility and how I've failed miserably before in the last match with Chaos, I don't think I should be bragging too much now. Disaster could happen really quickly there, but what I mean more to say is kind of like showcase a little more strategy to this faction as opposed to just blindly jumping in there and going for a killing blow. But it's a good demonstration, at least with the Chaos match, about the value of punishing a fleet that's spread out, which is kind of where I want to kind of circle around them, grab points if it's not to my advantage to try and dive to bomb them. If I see a vulnerable battleship with its lack of high energy turn, and I gotta be careful of the possibility of a micro warp jump. That's always a possibility too. They can just jump out of the way at a moment's notice with how that behaves. It immediately goes into the warp, and then 2.5 seconds later it appears at its destination. So you can use that reactionarily to just jump out of the way, as opposed to the wind up or the charge up time it had on Armada 1. But otherwise, strategy is going to be the same as before, and I'm going to guess we have a lot of vanguards. This is going to be interesting. The one annoying criticism I have with the pulsars is that there's no way to dumbfire them anymore. In fact, they have their own little 90-degree cone. Well, not really 90-degree cone, but they have their own auto-firing cone, which makes it really tricky to kind of prioritize your target that way. But at the same time, it's really useful against a mobile fleet or shooting out frigates, because you don't have to try excruciatingly, well, I don't even know if I said that right, to try and hit these light cruisers that are just rushing. And also I have the armor as well, so I can kind of take the rams pretty well, especially with the lower health pool again of these vanguards. So maybe that's not too terrible. I do need to be ready. Oh. Okay, there's their fighters coming in. Those are what those blips are. So try to reveal me for dump boarding torpedoes, if I had to guess. And he's using them for waypoints, so maybe I should just play a slow con here and just... Let's see. So those are dumbfire torpedoes, I guess. I kind of want to shoot these things down so that way my opponent doesn't get them back, since they are kind of, after all, only single squadrons. And I do have solid run on most of them. Just played a long con there, and yeah, these are like I don't know if those are boarding torpedoes. I'm not the assault crafts, or I don't recognize icons. What I'm trying to say, if that's the boarding crafts or not, but I'm okay with shooting these down. Is what I'm trying to say. Make this a little bit easy. Are those torpedoes? The icons are kind of a little bit different. I'm not used to these boarding torpedoes. Nonetheless, I was talking about like seeker missiles before. This would be a good example of this, if you can mitigate a lot of these tracking, since the same rules would apply to Tau seeker missiles as well in this case. I'm just fooling around, mind you, letting him get his ground, but I gotta keep in mind what's this. What is it? Battle barge. Which I'm going to assume that's the battle barge there, because that's a lot of like Thunderhawks. So that just makes it easy for me to dive bomb them. I got myself a target. That may have been a bit of a poor decision on my part, but I'm not afraid of a battle barge just by itself. But let's see, rainbow shift. I'm gotta be ready to utilize this. All right. Now, the one thing to remember is that this thing does have the ability to... What is it? Hold that thought. We're about to get rammed to hell. That's decent damage. Not perfect, but a good start. Now, let's just get ourselves ready to do ourselves another attack run. If I could kill the battle barge, that'll help a ton there, at least. But you could kind of see the issue with the pulsars right now. Now, is he going to let it get hit? Because he should be able to easily dodge this. And those are boring torpedoes. Those might hurt a bit. But we got some good damage here. This thing's going to hurt. I'm not seeing a micro warp jump, so these torpedoes might actually kill it right now. Although they are getting shot down quite a bit, so again, this is another example of maybe overdoing it a tiny bit. So I have no repairs available here, at least for the one that's about to fall apart. So I don't think I'm going to kill that thing just yet. But it does warp out. That's probably like the smartest play I've seen of someone so far. Now, let's capitalize on this. I don't think I want to scuttle that just yet. I can lightning strike and regenerate it. At least it draws some fire there, and it keeps burning his boarding at least. Now that was a bad torpedo shot there. Now let's get our brace for impact to help, because again, I have armor to at least take these hits, which is a little bit different to the Corsairs. Now fire your pulsars, maybe. You have all your weapons crippled right now, which doesn't help me. I'm assuming anyway. You know you can fire. Fire for me. Okay, they're not gonna fire, I guess. It's a little inconvenient because I don't see any weapons destroyed. Well, that's a little annoying. I just want you to kill the damn thing. You're not doing it. And also, I gotta remember my hotkeys here too. They're doing everything but actually attacking the one ship I want, which is a little annoying. And I kind of forgot about the radius too. Yeah, this is getting annoying. This is where I kind of wish, well, I have an easy solution for this, I think. Just set the damn priority, even though me just specifically saying to attack the ship should be enough, you would think. You would think anyway, it's not the case. Give me the boring, let's cripple some stuff here. And all the while fire some torpedoes as well. There's some good torpedo hits on something smaller there. Again, my Wraithbone ship's kind of bugged, but again, I did lose engines, which I think is part of the reason. So I'm not so upset about it in this case, at least. And I have Wraithbone shift here as well. Ooh, that was a brutal ram, but I do have brace for impact to help in that regard at least, so that's not a big deal. Not as much as it could be. In this panic, there have been some matches where I haven't really been having issues with the Wraithbone ship bugging, so I think it's just me and my panic trying to spam the ability that may be triggering in some form. I just wouldn't know in what way exactly. So get this moving. Do we have any more lightning strikes? Not yet. And try as you might with your frigate, but yeah, that's what they do. Eldar like to kill stuff at crazy fast. I'm just doing a bad job timing it, especially timing my pulsar fire. Especially when you consider the crew modifier too. Since I almost have no crew left on this thing, there's like a 20% reduction to my reload. So a bit of a bad display there, but if I excuse me there a moment. I'm trying to collect my thoughts now, and I'm trying to get this clump all fixed up there. Which should be rectified in a moment, hopefully. Since I still have like 3 cruisers that at least can go. Alright, if he wants to grab the points, so be it. I could just do that with these dragon sails there. It's going to be a little annoying if he decides to go that route. Especially with my lightning strikes, I still have lightning strikes available, don't I? Yeah, permit damage on these engines, so this thing will be dead momentarily. I just got a lightning... Well, lightning strike isn't going to do me much good, since there's still a lot of crew to get rid of. Not my proudest moment there, mainly because I was fooling around a little bit dealing with the fighters, thinking long term, which may not have been the best choice. I could have isolated that battle barge really damn aggressively while his vanguards were away. It's a lot of it's because I talked about before, especially when I was talking about the town merchant fleet, how it seems like missiles and the fighters are going to be really annoying, especially with the potential of boarding torpedoes and the fact I don't have a carrier ship to help deal with those effectively, so that was just me taking them a little bit seriously due to my own personal experience utilizing them. At least the seeker missiles, which destroy ships quickly. So thankfully I didn't have to worry about that too much. But the one thing I do like is pretty much every match we get ourselves a new portrait or some kind of unlock, which is not related to the actual Admiral leveling. It's a bit of a shame though, that the skills are kind of locked behind here. And no, I did not unlock Wraithbone Reinforcement, I already got that. So, a bit of a rough start, but I like to think there's a lot of potential to showcase with these Asuryani. They can get more in your face there, especially when you consider how durable they are. Sure, they only got like... Let me double check what exactly armor is. Sure, it may only be like... It's not the top tier type armor, but still, 67 armor as opposed to like even 50 armor for like the Corsairs or even the Drukhari, that's quite significant. And for macro cannons, when you consider that the holofield kind of reduces accuracy in half, which in Armada 1 really was more of a shield, a second shield arguably. When the macro cannons hit you, you saw the visual effect of the holofield just negating and cancelling out the attack. So I want to argue, I have to playtest it a bit more, mind you, to see if that's the case, but it's more like a second layer of armor. And since that just equates it, these Asuryani having almost the same type of armor as like the prow of an Imperial Navy. It just functions a little bit differently since there's two different roles you're making, and one of which I'm going to assume just completely ignores damage as opposed to reduces damage. But that is a quick demonstration, maybe a bad one, of the Asuryani. And what I'm going to do for my next one is play into the town merchant fleet, see if I can figure out the slow and steady and chipping down your opponent type of playstyle, and hopefully get it figured out. And that should allow for the weekend to give me the time I need to unlock all these skills for the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Necrons, and the Tyranids. For the Tau, are pretty much the exact same as the Protectors. All their abilities are pretty much carbon copy of each other, and you will recognize almost all of them from R1. So there's, aside from maybe some key ones I need for playstyle purposes, you should already have a good sense of what to expect with them. But with the Adeptus Mechanicus, Necrons, and all of them, they're going to have completely different type of abilities, mind you. So thank you all for watching.